the good old Bears, the monsters of the Midway. Wayne, I want you to kind of kick this one off, but I think you were the one who flagged to me that Roquan Smith has requested a trade. There's some other details that go along with it, but what do you think about Roquan and this whole story? What can you tell us? And then also, what do you think about Poles' decision to maybe not commit to Roquan? What do you think is in store for Chicago and kind of their player planning?
Yeah, so basically Roquan requested a trade, like put it out on his like social media and everything, saying like, oh, yeah, things we just can't align and everything. Like I love the Bears, I love Chicago and all that, but for whatever reason, yeah, we just can't do it. They're not. He believes he's worth more and everything. So it sounds like it's definitely a speculation, and who knows what words are true, but they're saying that like he's asking for basically be the top paid inside linebacker or just linebacker in general in the NFL, and it's like what $20 million for a linebacker. It's like, is that really worth it? I think that's where a lot of people are going at, especially where the Bears where they're at right now. And it's like Roquan, yeah, great player, has definitely been a staple on our defense, but a lot of people were throwing the PFF rankings that he has. Like, he's all right. He's not that great. He's all right though. So, yeah, Poles has been quoted and saying that they've offered a record-setting contract, and not exactly know exactly what that means, and go into full details, whether it's like record-setting, contract for a linebacker with regards to maybe guaranteed money versus annual payment. And their salary. So he didn't get too specific there, but hey, if it's record setting for guaranteed, like, yeah, that's not a bad deal, Roquan. So, he's operating without an agent, which a lot of people have been like, maybe you should actually operate with an agent and go that route, at least for right now. So I think there's definitely been more of a push there of his lack of experience with regards to this, and maybe he was over in his head a little bit. So I think that's probably where it's going. And it sounds like everybody that knows football, that I think former scouts that I follow, for the Bears, or people that have manager experience for other NFL organizations, they've all been saying the kind of the same thing as like, Roquan doesn't have that leverage, but he has also stated that he wants to be a Bear, and also it seems like Poles and the Bears want Roquan too. So I think what they're basically thinking is that there's way too much for both to lose for them not to have a deal, and for them to both get what they want to move forth, despite this, I guess, this Instagram post or whatever from Roquan of saying like, yeah, I just want to trade now. So, but yeah, and he just got removed from the PUP list today, actually. So, and I think the idea is that he would be fined also $40,000 a day he doesn't show up. I think Roquan's making right now, I think like $3 million or $3 to $4 million, I believe, for this coming season. So, hey, yeah, it's definitely a lot more money than both of us and everything. But at the same time, when you're talking about contracts for NFL players, like, hey, this still counts, especially if you're thinking, he's only going to be playing for maybe another decade, if most, right? For linebackers, right? So yeah, $40,000 a day. So if he shows up tomorrow, we're shooting this on a Wednesday night. So if Thursday morning he shows up to practice, then this is all kind of forgotten. He's probably going to be signing a contract that is not the $20 million route. Probably, I think what a lot of people are saying, he's probably worth around $15 million, give or take a few there. So, but yeah, what are your thoughts, Pat? What do you think about Roquan? And, do you see him fitting in the future for the Bears? And do you think he's worth what he's asking for?
Yeah, I mean, I heard, at least on his contract, that a lot of it was backloaded, which is what kind of got him bothered, is that you're not giving me fair value today, and I'll be worth more in the future than what you're going to have for me backloaded in that deal. I guess I guess from where I stand, we're so bad that we're going to just need as much depth and as much flexibility, I would say, with our spending and with what we're trying to do with our roster going forward. That even though Roquan Smith is an absolute stud, he's in his prime, he's 25 years old, he wants to be there. He's a clubhouse leader. I mean, he's got no marks against his record or anything like that. It's just like, professional or anything like that. So it's kind of, it's too bad to see a guy like that just kind of ushered out. And I'm not exactly sure what we can get for him in a trade too, because it's like when you got a guy who's on a contract year and this will be his first major contract, the team that gets him is going to have to pony up for that. But in the same sense, they're like, okay, we have to pay up for this guy, but in the same sense, that's going to cut the value that you get back. So it's like, what can we really expect? Is it a second rounder? Is it a second and a third? I mean, what could it really be? So it's a little frustrating to not know, I guess who's going to be left on our roster to make us like a viable football team for the next, 3 to 5 years. I mean, I'd imagine Roquan would have been a part of that strategy, but the other part of me just thinks like, this is Ryan Poles coming in year one, doing a lot of crazy things that, us traditionalists or, people that have watched the Bears for a while or just like watch football. It's like some of the stuff's a little head scratching. It's like, don't you want to build up the line? Like, don't you want to get your young quarterback some weapons this year? Don't you want to, sign a long-term extension to your top linebacker? Why is your, top defensive end pissed off and he wants out too now? It's just like, you got rid of the whole D line. Like, we're all confused. Like, what did you do at the draft? You got a couple secondary guys. Like, what's going on? Like, what are you doing, Ryan Poles? So again, like a Rick Hahn situation, I'm cool with just letting this play out this entire year. I think we are going to be behind the Jamal Williams led Lions, who's crying in the huddle about how, they hate being a 3-win team last year. I could see us being worse than the Lions this year, honestly. And, maybe we stink. We get, some high draft picks this year, this upcoming season, the next one after that. And then we also have the money. And I think that's what Poles is trying to do. He's trying to create like the most cap space in NFL history to just create his master plan. So while I'd hate to see Roquan leave, in my conclusion, I'm so intrigued by what Ryan Poles is doing, whether it's the smartest thing in the world or the most epic, string of failures that we'll find out in the next 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, I know Poles has always stated he wants to build through the draft. But then it's like, how much do you want to build through the draft? Do you want to get rid of all your players? Like, yeah. So that's definitely where, it's like, it's kind of also a mixture of like the Bears are used to having also a middle linebacker. I feel like, every single year, every decade, there's always some sort of, linebacker that is a stud. So, if we're gonna just get rid of one and then, we're just gonna see if we can get another one, just like draft another one and be totally fine, right? Maybe it is that easy for the Bears. I don't know. There's something in the water, the Bears to get great linebackers, just like it is easy apparently for the Green Bay Packers to keep on getting really great Hall of Fame quarterbacks. So, if that is the case, then okay, maybe we just do that. And the linebacker position, modern day NFL, has been a little bit more devalued than in years past, just because lack of running and such now, with the devaluation essentially of running backs too. So there's a lot to be said, I guess, with regards to that and how the devaluation of the linebacker position has kind of hurt the Bears then the franchise, if that's the case, but then also it hurts Roquan's value in terms of like, oh yeah, we can just get rid of you and you're totally replaceable. So you might as well just accept whatever, $10 million contract that we give you, if you really want to stay and really want to be part of a winning team. But, I think he has also stated that he doesn't want to also ruin the linebacker market. So it's like he's, I guess, framing like he's trying to also stick for, maybe the NFLPA has kind of helped him out in his process and be like, yeah, man, you can't just be cheap for the Bears. So maybe there's all that, but if Roquan goes, it'll be sad. It honestly will be. I think he's a great player. He's probably our best player, honestly, right now. So, but they got rid of Khalil Mack. They got rid of a bunch of players. It seems it's like maybe he just wants to blow it up. And then I'm like, how can you win with Justin Fields though? I think is the biggest question. How can you develop even with whatever makeshift defense that you think Eberflus can put together? So I think all those are like, I don't know how the Bears can have a winning season going into the season with Justin Fields like developing and to be a legitimate starter, week one, he's gonna be a starter type of player, and then also having like a formidable defense that can maybe, push them forward so that they can maybe, be around 500, I think is what a realistic Bears fan is hopeful for, but maybe not realistic in and of itself. So,
yeah, I think to one of your points, I think maybe Poles has an idea of which positions are of most value and where he's willing to spend the most resources. So maybe he's already, figured out this master plan in his mind. Like, I'm going to go after top ends. I'm going to go after top corners. I'm going to go after, if Fields doesn't work out, I want to have money at the Q position. Maybe it's wide receivers, no tackle, whatever it is. I think he's got some sort of process. Maybe he's learned with the Kansas City Chiefs where he's like, this is how we're going to be successful down the road. So I'm willing to be patient. I'm willing to see it out. At my age, I don't think about the individual player. I always think about how the organization goes about stuff now. You want to trade our best player? That's all right. Tell me what we're getting back. Because if we're getting back some interesting stuff, I'm always down to listen. Whereas when I was a kid, would cry when I saw, Maglio or Donia showing the door or whoever else, stuff like that. But the only other point I would think is just from Poles' career and his ability to stay in a GM role, I think never really hurts to push the goalpost back a couple of years, never really hurts to be like, hey, we're going to suck for a while. Give me time. Because I feel like we've seen that with, the past administration. And then, just looking around the league, I feel like AJ Preller for the Padres made a bunch of trades for BJ Upton, all these other players. It didn't make sense then, but then the team sucked. He had to reboot, and he's like, just give me time. And that reboot took 5 years to get him to their current core. It's just so, I mean, maybe he's doing it. I would hate to say he is, but I'd go with point A, but I think, maybe there's some strategy there to moving the goalpost back for himself. But I just think it's going to be a painful year in Chicago for sure.